Right. We'll go ahead and get started here. Thank you again for being here. We appreciate you. If you didn't know, you're in the final interim reporting walkthrough today. So if you're in the wrong webinar, hey, thanks for being here for a little bit. I'm going to introduce myself here in a moment, but first I'll have Leslie introduce herself, and then I'll have her go off screen for a little bit and be behind the scenes. So go ahead, Leslie.
Hi everyone, I'm Leslie Gonzalez and I'm a program manager here with SFA and I'll be helping Carly with the questions.
Thanks, Leslie. All right, so really appreciate Leslie's behind the scene work. And I am Carly Curley. If I haven't met you before, I use pronouns she, her. I'm the assistant director for need-based programs, and a huge part of my job is managing this reporting process. So you've likely worked with me before if you have been doing this process. For a visual description, I have cat eye glasses on, yellow hair, and I have a Pride background, a Wasac background. Behind me, and happy Pride, y'all. We'll go ahead and get started here. So what are we going to talk about today? I'm going to give you some updates and reminders, some final interim specific information, interim report process walkthrough as we typically do, and then Q&A. We'll also stop midway through this process and have some time for Q&A as well. Leslie will be looking at any questions that you put in the Q&A feature and to bring those up so we can answer those live. So just so you know, please put those in the Q&A. Would love that. The huge thing is a huge thank you. Thank you for all your hard work this year. Thank you for submitting your interim reports and making sure they are accurate and doing your best to get those in on time. We really appreciate you. This data is critical. It's critical for projecting funding amounts. And so all the work you do is very important for all of our students, and we appreciate you. All right, we have the chat open here. We'd love to know, one, introduce yourself. Who's in the room with us today? We'd love to hear from you in terms of, who's here, where you're from, and also describe your week in an emoji or emojis. Maybe there's multiple emojis describing your week. So feel free, let us know. If the chat's not working, it should be working, but if for some reason we don't start seeing responses, we'll see if we can do some different settings. So perfect. Hi, Jocelyn. Nice to see you. I always feel like, what's the emoji? Hi, Ashley. Ooh, dancing. I love that. Hi, Natalie. Good to see you. Hi, Travis. Hi, Landra. I don't know if I've met you. Good to see you. Hi, Victoria. Hi, Lisa. Lisa, I like the turtle. Maybe that's like a, I know how that feels. Hi, James. Good to see you. Thank y'all. Love to see you. Hi, Michelle. I definitely feel that emoji. That's a lot of times like the crazy face emoji with, you're just going through it. Hi, Frank. Hi, Inti. Oh, it's so good to see you all. I know we're just virtual, but it's great to see your names and have you introducing and let me know how you're doing. Inti, that's a great emoji. I don't think I've seen that one before. Hi, Shannon. That's awesome. Okay, well, keep them coming. We'll have the chat open for a little bit. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Ashley. Yeah, we were thinking, it's nice to have the chat open so you're not just sitting behind a screen and feeling like, okay, I'm here, but I want to talk about things. So yeah, we love the Q&A for questions and answers just so we can keep it organized. But if something comes in the chat, we'll find it. Hi, Nancy. Good to see you. Okay, so keep them coming. We'll love to see you. I think we talked about this last time, but we're going to change the report to the reconciliation report. So big change. Really the whole point of this is just to make sure that it's really focused on reconciling your information between systems. And so we just thought, what does the interim actually mean? That's something I asked. I remember doing the interim when I was an FAA, and have been running it since I've been here, but I'm like, what is the interim report? So going to change it to the reconciliation. I'm calling it recon report. And you'll notice some changes in Seesaw after the final interim is done. So that's the hot news with the report change. Last spring, we had this issue where there was conflicting edits coming on for students that had enrollment deadline met overrides. And so basically there were students that they got the student is okay to pay, but hasn't been awarded CBS edits due to enrollment deadline met. And so it depends on, the situation. So student, they won't get this edit. Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, I don't think that that is the case. We want them to get the edit because they actually are eligible, if they were eligible for the year that the enrollment deadline met was overridden. Now that was a lot to say. So essentially what we wanted you to know is that that was already corrected quite a while ago, but also what has been added is that you can see the override history. So before, when this was happening, you couldn't even see the history of like, why was the enrollment deadline met changed and what happened? And so now there'll be an enrollment history, override history for these students, and it'll show, hey, there's CBS enrollment update, and it shows that it's automatic through the URR data process, and it'll show you what URR that the enrollment was found in. And so this can be a little confusing because sometimes it's like, okay, well, we didn't report that in our URR. Typically, it's not the school that reported it. It's a different school that reported it in their URR report, and it's not in Seesaw. So those are the big factors. If you have any questions about this, let me know. So sorry for the conflicting info here. I just put schools will no longer receive it, but I actually think we want you to receive that to award eligible students. So just want to clarify that. All right, if you didn't see it, we are going to be on the road. We're going to be doing our spring workshops in person again. And essentially what this is just a time to kind of go through legislation that has occurred, some training on programs, and, little things like a new WASFA application, just things like that we want to tell you. It's a half-day type workshop, and we have several across Washington. So we'd love to see you at one of those workshops. We'll have more information about the Seattle area for those folks that are there, but we're looking forward to in a couple weeks being on the east side of the state. And yeah, we'll have mainly it's going to be Shannon, myself, Marla, and Gabi, and then we'll have some special WASAC guests at various locations. So we'd love to see you. If you are planning on attending and you haven't had a chance to, you can use this QR code to let us know that you're planning to attend. That just helps us for planning purposes. We'd love to see you there. This is a reminder that, about the purpose of the final interim report. It's really important because it's your last chance to really reconcile your funds between Seesaw, your system, and your financial and business office records. So this is a really important moment for reporting because you want to get this all done. The URR is too late to do that. When you're reporting for the URR, that's past the time that we could send you funds for an academic year. So it's way too late to correct any funding issues that happen as a result of the URR. So if you have a happy final interim report, hopefully you have a happy URR. So that's our goal. We want you to be able to have a reconciled system. Now, we know that the URR, it does ask for different information. And so there might be some things that you're thinking about during this final interim. So some prep you could do is thinking about, like, if you've had residency issues or other things like that, things that pop up in URR, just things to be considering that you may not find in final interim. So that's just something I was thinking about. So when does it open? Monday. Can you believe it? I am surprised myself. It opens on Monday the 15th, closes July 13th. So just things to keep in mind in terms of dates for this report. This is a great reconciliation tool that we have, and I think we brought this up before, but this is the All Student Awards Report. It's a good tool for reconciliation. So essentially what this will do is take out anything that we have in Seesaw and you can compare that against your system, against financial records, and maybe help you with your incremental file as well of who needs to be reported in Seesaw. So there's a couple options. There's incremental file format or legacy, which is like the old full file format. It's more just if you're using this report to import into your system somehow, that it matches whatever your system needs. But essentially, we just wanted to highlight this tool as you go about doing reconciliation. A reminder for summer 2, please have those awards reported as early as possible. I've been seeing those come through the past month or so. Thank you so much to everyone who's reporting those. The last day to request funds for new summer 2 students, we always get this question every year, is August 1st. That's the very last day you can receive payment for any new summer 2 folks. So when we say new summer 2, we're just saying those that were not reported as a part of the final interim process and have since added classes after the final interim. And for folks that have a trailer school, normally what you need to do in order to report these students is just let us know. We can reopen your report. You can report the new students and request funds, and then we'll reclose your report. So just reach out to WCG and we can help you with that. Okay, here's some final interim specific information. Our favorite edit of all time, everybody. Student is not okay to award, or is okay to award, not okay to pay, hasn't been awarded CBS. So one thing is this has to be resolved for final interim. And why does this edit appear? It appears because there's a verify either in the high school GED grad year and or the high school 2.0 GPA. So it's something that you've probably been working on all year, or maybe you have like a new spring student that you haven't had a chance to collect a transcript with, and you still need to resolve this verify. So those have to be resolved as a part of the final interim process. So how do you do that? So a couple things. It depends on what you've done with these students throughout the year. So you may have students that were in this verify situation, and like we've told you, you've awarded them CBS and they've been at an offered status all year. And so they don't have this edit, but they have the CBS is not okay to pay edit. Either way, this is the way to resolve it. So if you did get a transcript, a GED transcript or a high school transcript, you want to override the CBS eligibility checker, and you want to override both the high school GED grad year and the GPA overrides with the transcript information. For GED students, you don't have to do the GPA override because the assumption is they met the 2.0 criteria. So don't worry about that for GED transcripts specifically. Speaking of GED transcripts, some of you have become really familiar with these. Thank you again for putting those students in this year, as that's something we transitioned to for our college-bound folks. So this is just a reminder of like the things you're looking for. You need to have an official GED transcript. Just like high school, you need to have a high school transcript, not a diploma, to update the checker. You'll want to you look at the testing jurisdiction to make sure that it was Washington State. So that's a huge piece. Second thing is when they passed, because you'll get asked that information in the override screen. So the huge thing is too, if you've been sitting, with these students all year, the students haven't actually submitted a transcript, you've tried your hardest. Anytime after May 1st, you can update the checker. So what you'll do is you'll go to the high school GED grad year and select the transcript requested but not received option. Once you do that, that will tell the system that the student is ineligible for CBS. And if you have awarded them CBS, you'll want to delete that. If you hadn't awarded it, it will remove an edit for you. So you kind of it just kind of depends on what the student's awarded in the system and what edit they have. But essentially, you'll want to clean up all your students that have been sitting in CBS is not okay to pay, or this other edit, and make sure that you've indicated they've never submitted a transcript. In previous years, this would have swapped to like a bridge grant fund. And so unfortunately for students in this case, it would just mean that they lose out on the college-bound funds. However, and we have more detailed information in the manual, but essentially if they do at some point submit a transcript, like say they're enrolled for summer one, or they come, fall, and they're like, oh, I missed out on this funding. Here's my transcript. You can always update the checker again once you have that information. And then once they are eligible, they can receive the funding. So it's never a permanent thing, but they would have to self-identify once you've used this status. Okay, so another interesting thing for this report is that we have to set the CBS is not okay to pay as overridable. And there's very specific circumstances on why we have to do this. So you still want to resolve all your students like we discussed before. So you still want to resolve, those that did not submit a transcript. And you don't want to override the edit and say no transcript. You want to make sure that you're going into the CBS eligibility checker, doing the CBS eligibility checker override process, and then that will update the edit. So that's really important distinction. So a couple situations that I would assume you would have to override this edit for would be those that are in repayment. So if you've done this before, those that have, CBS maybe before, they're in repayment, it causes this edit for them and there's nothing you can do about it. It causes a problem. So we'll have a canned override for you that says something about, student in repayment in a previous term, or student in repayment for current term, previous term funds or something like that. We'll have it available for you. Second thing that I would assume we might see is that guidance from way back in August. And so this is kind of like updates to the checker with the 6-year eligibility. And I know that we're going way back to August here, but essentially it was students that were awarded before we had this functionality in place, before August 12th. And you've probably been familiar and have overridden them already, but not for the CBS is not okay to pay. So I've put that guidance here. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm also happy to forward that guidance from back in the day to you. It's also on our website. So if you're looking for it, it's there. These are the two main things I would expect to see overrides on this edit. Now, there may be some others that I just haven't thought of, some specific situations with a specific student where you're going to need to do an override, but I would say for 95% of the students, you just need to override in the CBS eligibility checker. So not to be confusing when we're talking about multiple overrides, there's edit overrides and then there's overriding in the CBS eligibility checker. So I just wanted to make that clear. We always bring this up because it happens throughout the year. Again, thank you so much for helping us with this. Actually, this is something that we're working with and hoping this can be a better process or better identification of duplicate records in our new system when we do have the new WASFA application. So we're hoping to better this for folks and looking forward to when I have more information to share about that. But for now, what the process is, sometimes students create multiple WASFA accounts. Sometimes they add new IDs. I think that's what folks have been really experiencing a lot this year. Maybe a student has an ITIN that they've reported, or they've been awarded on a WASFA ID, but they've now added an SSN. And so if you find that a student has multiple IDs in the portal, there's a couple steps you have to do. Sometimes these folks are caught when you get the no FAFSA or WASFA on file edit. You can find out, oh, that's weird. They're not connecting to the WASFA. And that might be an identifier of folks in this situation. So just a reminder about the hierarchy. If a student has an SSN, they should be awarded on that. If they have an ITIN, they should be awarded on that. And if not, a WASFA ID. So that's kind of the hierarchy of awarding in Seesaw. So main thing is if the student has a confirmed SSN, like I said, they should be awarded on that. And then the hierarchy is kind of described below on how that should work. So we consider, submitting a WASFA application with their new ID as a confirmed SSN. Also might be you're working with a student and you have that information. We get that question sometimes, and you want to make sure that it's not conflicting between your school's records and what's on their application. You can add that to their application too. That reminds me, if you have not got advisor assist and are doing WASFA corrections and you need to be, please reach out to the WCG team so that we can make sure we're working with you so you are able to do that. So once we have the ID determined, we're like, okay, for sure the student has an SSN. There's a couple different things to consider. So one is are they awarded under the correct ID in Seesaw? And have you deleted awards from the incorrect ID? So say it's an I-10 to SSN situation. If the student has an SSN, they should be awarded on their awards in Seesaw under the SSN, and then the awards would be deleted off the I-10 number. And so you want to make sure all those awards are deleted. If there's still different IDs for the student when you look them up in Seesaw, we can then merge the records for you. So you want to do that by sending us a secure email through the portal to the Washington College Grant inbox and let us know the student's name and the ID that they should be awarded on. And we can take care of that for you. Generally, person merges happen within a day or two in Seesaw, so it's usually no problem. Another factor in this process is making sure that Seesaw, the WASP application, and the CBS eligibility checker all match. I know that's one area where sometimes we will find an issue where they'll get a CBS edit, but you know they're CBS eligible because they've received it for years or this year. And so that's just another check just to make sure that the checker is showing the right ID. We can always connect with our college-bound folks to make sure that that's updated if it needs to be. And then, we'll merge the records once we have that info. So we have a little bit of time to maybe go through some questions. Leslie, what do we have?
There are no questions right now, so if you have any, please put them in the Q&A. Or I can enable chat also if you have any comments that you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, feel free to enable chat for the rest of the time too. I think, Leslie, that's fine. Well, self high five for doing a good job on my presentation so far. We'll go ahead and move forward. We're going to walk through the interim process. For any of you folks who are new, we will kind of walk through here. Did one come in? Leslie, did we have? Okay.
Yeah, one came through.
Okay.
So what is the best way to send late state aid awards for summer two?
Yeah, I think the best way to manage that process. So say your, interim is finalized and it's all done, and you have new summer awards and you need to open your interim back up, you would just email the Washington College Grant email. So WCG, we'll have it at the end of this too. So don't worry, you don't have to memorize. And actually, I'll just put it in the chat, but it's WCG at wasac.wa.gov. And so you can email us there and we can always open your interim report back in. You'll report the students, request the funds, let us know that's done, and then we'll finalize your report. So that's kind of the best way to do that. Thank you. Great question. Okay, so interim report walkthrough. I know we do this every time, but I always feel like it's a good reminder of the flow and the process of how this goes. And so here's always like how I see the process. So we have uploading your file, resolving the edits, requesting funds, and reviewing your interim report, making sure it's accurate and ready to go, and then submitting. Now we know we're going to sit in the green resolve edits part, probably the most. However, I'd love to hear from you. I don't know if the chat, I'll see if it's on. Oh yeah, it's on. Yeah, love to hear from you. Has it been easier this year with using an incremental file with having less edits? Have you found that you've had less edits in future reporting? Has it been about the same? What do you think? Let us know. So first step, upload your file. So you're going to select your file. It's going to be in the format. It's going to be beautiful and you're going to have no issues. That's what I'm putting out there for y'all. You're not going to have any issues and you click continue once you've uploaded or selected the file. You've got your file in there, you can hit continue and you can click start over anytime. If you grab the wrong file and you're like, no, I don't want to upload this information, click start over. It's okay, you can do that. The system will check for any errors. So if you do have an error, no problem. We'll tell you what it is. So we're going to tell you, there's a lot of times there will be a row and column number listed. Or if it's something like this error, where like there's duplicate school codes or something funky like that, then it'll tell you what that is. And then you'll just have to search and find that. But typically, if it's like a student specific error, it'll tell you the exact row and column in your file that it's in. So that's helpful. And once you have that, you fix your file, just click start over to begin the process again. Oh, yeah. Thank you for asking, Ashley. So, are we still good to do everything? I think you're saying like in training. Yes, you can absolutely fix your file in training. Yeah, no worries. I knew that's what you're thinking. Portal training. So portal training is a huge tool. You all, if you haven't used it yet, it could be something where you some schools, and Ashley's alluding to this, where you upload your file, you fix all your edits and fix the student information, and then you can fix the file itself before you load it in. You also can upload your file anytime. Like you don't have to wait till Monday to do it. You could do it tomorrow if you wanted to. I know we're really close to the opening date, but files can be uploaded anytime. And yeah, so use training however you want. It's for you. It resets every day. It's not going to impact the live portal. So it is a really good tool. So thanks for mentioning that. So once your file's uploaded, you have no errors, you're ready to go. It's going to give you like a this kind of summary. And if you look at this, you know, you go, oh my goodness, that's like millions of dollars different than what I anticipated. It's just a good spot check to think, okay, here's what I anticipated uploading. That matches with what I thought it would. Also, in this part, it will tell you how many records you've marked for deletion. And so if you're utilizing that is delete column in the incremental file, it'll show you who you're going to delete. And that's a good check too. So if you knew you were going to mark, 20 records for deletion, complete deletion, it would show you right here on this screen too. So that's another check for you as you're doing this process. So a little bit about what this will look like. You'll see a status bar appear as your file is saved. Once the file is uploaded, click on Review Edits to begin the journey in the edits. So as you're resolving edits, there's a couple ways to access that. Like I said, you can click on Review Edits, or you can just go to Seesaw menu and go to Edits. Either way, however you want to access that. This is where a lot of the work occurs, and this is why you want to give yourself some time to complete these, especially with final interim, because there's some things that you have to resolve everything. So not the informational per se. We always say to take a look at those and make sure that things are looking right, but you have to resolve all the edits just like you do for other reports, but there's just some extra steps that you might need to take. So like we talked about, you might have to go into the CVS eligibility checker, do some overrides for those that didn't do transcript, might need to talk with some other schools about combined enrollment, things like that. I will make sure to send out the interim report contacts list again with my interims open email on Monday. So you'll have some good contacts there in case you need to work with other schools with dual enrollment. Speaking of that, I know we've had a couple questions about dual enrollment with WA Grant for apprenticeship. This one, it works just like dual enrollment with another school, but I know there's a challenge to you all because you can't see the WA Grant for apprenticeship information. And so we're thinking about ways to display that to make it easier for you. But in the meantime, I'm your resource. So if you ever have questions and you're seeing that dual enrollment with the WA Grant for apprenticeship, I'll work with our WA Grant for apprenticeship team and see what's going on with the student, because oftentimes it's all about who reported it and paid funds first. So just like when you're working school to school, it's who reported the funds, paid them first in Seesaw. And so what I'm doing is effectively checking with WGA to see, hey, were they paid on full cost of attendance or adjusted cost of attendance? And that kind of determines what happens. But yeah, if you ever have any questions about that, please let me know. I'm happy to kind of explain that process better. All right, so you see all of your edits, they populate here. You kind of know What you're going to need to do and look at, this is a lot of edits, so hopefully you don't see that many edits for this report. I hope for you there's not 854 edits. And like I said, if they're informational, you don't have to resolve them to submit your report. It's good to review them. And then you'll just want to click on an edit to review, the information, the students in it. So for example, here student is okay to award, not okay to pay. Here's an example of what that edit looks like. You can't see the student names because we blocked them out, but there's always, you can click on them to go look at their student detail record. We always recommend that. If you've maybe worked on the fixes in training and you already know what needs to happen, perhaps you might do that. And you can do it right in the screen. It's always good to review the student detail information, though, if you don't know what's going on and you want to make sure like everything's correct and any adjustments that need to be made. And when we say the student detail record, we just mean it's that screen that's the student specific screen. It shows their awarding information only, shows their eligibility, and has all the school's reporting information specific to the student. So kind of like when you're searching for a student in Seesaw and you click on their name, it goes to the student detail record. So speaking of that, here's an example of what that looks like. And there's two types of edits. They may be term specific, so they might relate to a specific term and something going on with that term, or they might be academic year specific. So it's like a bigger issue that's relating to the whole year. And an example of that would be if a student was over awarded, like more than $2 for the year, that might go into an academic year specific edit. Just thinking of that because I just talked about it with our IT team today. Okay, so this is also one area we can see if an override has been rejected, what the information is, additional information is. But now we have a lot more functionality in the edit screen too to show rejected overrides and comments and how to fix it. So hopefully that's been really helpful as you're doing your reports. And if the edit requires you to edit the student's information, you can click on that little box, the pencil square, make any updates, and then click Update Student to make those changes. We recommend refreshing the page after that because it might still show the edits if you don't refresh the page. So something to know. For requesting funds, the easiest way is to just choose all students by program. So basically selecting all terms, all programs, and request those funds. This is really important for this report. You have to request all funds. And so even if the amount is negative, sometimes we get that question, should I request it even if it's negative? Yeah, you definitely want to request them all. What that does is it goes into our system and we know either what you owe or what we need to pay you. So it's really important to request them in either case. To do that, once you select all those boxes, you click I agree, request funds, and then confirmation of that request will appear. And you can download the students. There's different CSV options throughout this page for you. Once all that's been done, you've requested all your funds, you've done all your edits, you can now submit the report. There will be a populated blue Submit Interim Report button. That means that everything's been done, you're ready to go. We always recommend to look at these menu options on the left-hand side. The reason for that is that they are going to give you different summaries of information that you've reported in Seesaw. So you'll be able to see comparisons between, academic years. And this is just moments to take a look that everything looks correct. So for example, I look at these menu items when I'm reviewing your report and I see, oh, okay, the Washington College grant last year was reported at 2 million, but this year it's only 1 million. And the reported amount of students are not less. So that would make me, reach out to you and be like, hey, is everything okay? Like, is this correct? So yeah, these are just places for you to take a look at it before you click that submit button. Make sure everything is looking as you anticipate, the funds that you've reported throughout the year, that you've requested those funds, all of those good things. Just take a look, make sure you're reviewing those things before you hit submit. It's not that we can't unsubmit your report, so don't worry about that, but just an important check as you go through the process. So once you submit the report, you will get an email and we'll get an email. So we'll know that you have submitted your report, it's done. And what we'll do from that point, and actually you've probably experienced this, our team reviews overrides as you're working on the report so that we can hopefully get back to you anything that we've rejected before you submit your report so you can take care of it. But sometimes we don't have time to do that, for every single school, and it depends on when you start on your report. And so we may need to look at your overrides after you've submitted your report. If that's the case, we'll always contact you. We'll let you know, hey, FYI, here's the 3 things that we need you to take a look at that need changes, or maybe we have a question on it and we'll ask you about that question at this point. So this is another really important reminder. So this is the time in the year where you're going to reconcile funding with us. And so if you have a positive requesting funds, then you're just going to expect a check or EFT to come to you. So you're done. You have done your report. We had no overrides to go over. If your report's finalized, that means you're done with the process. Great job. If you do owe funds to WASAC, there's a couple really important things to note. So if funds are due and you've requested all those funds, we just ask that you don't just send the funds to us until you receive an email with confirmed amounts and further instructions about those funds. And the reason why is that we have to book those funds with our accounting team, and we want to make sure that everything matches our records and your records. And so we're going to send you, and typically we send this to you within a day or two of your submission, with information about what's owed, the programs it's owed for, and how to send that to us. And so that's just really an important thing. So get the email from us, then send the funds. And if you have any questions about if there's like a discrepant amount, if you're showing you owe this much and the system's showing a different amount, we can help work through those questions together. Yeah, it's very important that this amount matches exactly to the amount that we've told you. That can cause some problems within the system and with our accounting folks if it doesn't. If you are going to send via EFT, and I'll include those instructions when I reply to you, there's a very specific thing about this where you need to let us know the day of that you send it. And it has to do with the behind the scenes process of making sure those funds reach us and booking those funds. So couple of extra things to know. I will put this in an email. Don't worry, you don't have to remember it all. But this is just a thing to really remember if you do owe funds to WASAC. So the last is the rest of my reminders, and then we can go into any questions. I don't know if I see anything in the chat, but feel free to put things where any other questions you have. So here's my reminders for you. Request all payments for all terms before submitting a report. If there is no owing balance, you'll receive an email from us. Information is always also available under the Seesaw menu and account status. Pay close attention to the due date and start early. This is always my reminder. Please start early. It really helps all of us if you do start that work early and don't wait until the week before it's due. Ask questions. We're here for you. If you don't understand something, reach out. If you're new to this process and just need to walk through it with us, happy to just reach out to WCG. We can walk through anything that you have questions on. Happy to. We can schedule a Teams meeting and make sure we're doing that with you. I think that's everything I had for final interim. I just was going back a couple slides. There's something that I wanted to tell you, and I'm trying to remind myself about this. Shoot. Okay. Well, if I think about it, I'll put it in my email to y'all. I guess another reminder too is if you're not on our distribution lists and you are, working on the interim report and want to know all the things that come out from WASAC, please let us know. You can even let us know in the chat if you're not on them. We'll get you added 100%. We want to make sure that you're in the know. But yeah, Leslie, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have two. So the first one is, how
Yeah.
soon will Seesaw be available for the 26-27 uploads after final interim is submitted?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So 26-27 typically opens on July 1st. And the thing about that is there's a couple things that have to be in place. So you have to have submitted your final interim report, you also have to have your PPA submitted and approved. So in order to, and then once those two things are true, you can actually upload 2026-27 information into the portal. There's a caveat there. We used to require all funds are received before you can access that year, but we do allow for our summer one schools to upload their information and request payment for summer one only. If you're still kind of working on sending the funds back to WASAC, or you're still working on your report. So the answer is potentially as early as July 1st, depends on when you submit your final interim report and things are done, and if you've submitted your PPA. So just an encouragement to get your PPAs in as well.
Right. And then the next question is about how to access portal training. Can I just share the link in the
Yeah,
chat?
please.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, Leslie will share the link for you.
Okay.
And feel free to use that. It's your friend.
Okay. All right. And then the last question right now is in regards to the last date to request funds for summer two being August 1st. Is there any exceptions to that date? Our summer session last module starts August 1st and goes into August 23rd.
Fortunately, there isn't. There's no, that's the end all be all date in terms of like what we can do. So yeah, there isn't any exceptions to that. So you'll just want to make sure to try to get all registered for that module in by that day. But if it's August 1st, we can go as late as August 1st. So, and the other thing, this is a great, I'm glad we have this question because it's a great reminder. Rather than having us reopen your report multiple times, if you could just wait to gather all the new students at a certain point in time and then do that request to us, that would be really appreciated.
All right. One more question came in, and it's when will the 26-27 manual that we're signing the PPA for be posted so we can submit our PPA?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. And I totally meant to tell you all this. So thank you so much. Right now, it's done. It's just being collated and getting ready to be able to be put up online. So I'm not, I wanted it to be up on Friday. However, I don't know the exact date that it's going to go up yet. So as soon as it is, I'm going to send an email to you all. And I know that you have a PPA deadline of the 15th. So if for some reason you need some time to read the manual first, let us know. I can tell you there's not huge changes, things to be aware of for this upcoming year. We talked about the reconciliation report. One thing is, if you haven't already, we're going to have all schools aligned to their federal SAP policy. So that would maybe be something to be aware of in terms of changes. We have some reminders in there about like aid changeability for our, aid changes. And let's see, I think that's really it for big changes in terms of things that we've put on the first page for you to be aware of. So fully aligning your SAP to federal change. There's some more information about the early path to WA grant. So that SNAP pathway that we talked about for WCGC. We've entered some more information in the manual about that. Those are the big highlights. So just wanted to let you know, not huge changes for this year. And we talked about the new WASFA coming up. So anyways, I'm sorry I don't have an exact date for you. I just have someone's working hard on it in the behind the scenes to get it ready for online. And I will do my best to get that info out to the community ASAP once it's available online. So thank you.
All right. One more question came through, and it's who do we reach out to if we haven't received our PPA to sign?
Yeah, that's Marla Skelly. So if you haven't heard from her, reach out to Marla Skelly. Can you put her email address in there,
Yeah.
Leslie? Thank you so much. Yeah, reach out to her. Okay, so Dan, I see your question in the chat. With fully aligning to federal SAP, if the student has a SAP hold and finishes a term without successfully appealing, will that mean we can no longer award? Yes, I think that's what we have. We actually really simplified the SAP chapter. We kind of got rid of all the state SAP info out of there. But at the bare minimum, in terms of like how SAP relates to state financial aid, is they must be making SAP. So, however that's defined at your university, which will now align with federal beginning 2026-27, if they're not making SAP, they haven't appealed, then they would not be eligible. So, thank you. Oh, and if they successfully appeal. Yeah, it's a little tough. It kind of, that's a real, it depends answer, because it kind of depends on, are they still within that term that they appealed? Like, for example, say they went summer term, they did not meet SAP for summer. In terms of federal aid, I thought this review is not done until spring. So it might not even be a non-issue. Do you have something in mind you're thinking of, Dan? Sorry, I wish I could answer that more specifically. Let me know. Feel free to reach out too. I'm happy to answer it through email too or call. Okay. Yeah. Let me know if someone comes up, Dan. I'm happy to talk with you anytime and we can figure that out. All right. Anything else from anyone? Just want to make sure answering in those questions. I don't see anything, I think. Okay, y'all, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you being here. Like I said, you know me. I'm here. If you have any questions, happy to talk with you, schedule some time together. Really appreciate all the work that goes into this. And yeah, well, happy interim. We'll see. Oh, I see. One more question. Student completed FAFSA first and comes up with a default. Can they still get WCG? Do you mean, Lisa, do you mean like if they've completed a FAFSA and then they completed a WASFA? Or what do you, okay. Yeah, this one default does not affect, a federal default does not affect student aid. And so, or sorry, state financial aid specifically. So that might be why a student chooses to complete a WASFA, is they're on default on like a federal loan. And so they want to complete a WASFA instead. It doesn't impact state awarding purposes. Repayment for state aid impacts awarding purposes, but being default on federal aid doesn't impact state financial aid. Hope that helps. They do need to have a valid financial aid application. And so I think that's probably why they completed a WASFA in addition to the FAFSA, I'm assuming. Thanks for asking. Okay, y'all. Well, things coming your way. Program manual, our staff. Hopefully we get to see you as we're going across the state. We'll be on the west side a little bit later in July. And we will have a webinar eventually. I'm not sure when that will be scheduled, but thanks for being here, y'all. And don't be shy if anything else comes up. Have a great day.